Setting boundaries is often misunderstood as an act of distancing yourself from others or closing yourself off, but in reality, boundaries are a profound form of empowerment. They are not about building walls, they are about creating clarity around what you will accept, how you want to be treated, and what you need to protect your emotional and mental well-being. Boundaries are a declaration of self-respect, and they allow you to maintain control over your life and your energy. When you set boundaries, you are asserting your right to prioritize yourself. You are making it clear that you value your time, your emotions, and your mental space enough to protect them. This isn't selfish, it's necessary. Too often, we are conditioned to give and give, to be available for everyone at any time, to say yes to every request. But without boundaries, this leads to burnout, frustration, and resentment. Boundaries give you the power to decide when to say yes and when to say no. And they allow you to do so without guilt. They enable you to take care of yourself first so you can show up in a healthier, more authentic way for others. Boundaries are also about creating healthy relationships. When you set clear limits, you're teaching others how to treat you. You're showing them what you will and won't tolerate. This doesn't push people away, it strengthens the relationships that matter. People who respect your boundaries are the ones who genuinely care about you. They understand that your well-being matters just as much as theirs, and they honor the limits you set. On the other hand, people who continually push or disrespect your boundaries reveal themselves as individuals who are more interested in what they can take from you than in your health or happiness. Empowerment through boundaries also means acknowledging your limits. It's recognizing that you cannot be everything for everyone. When you set boundaries, you accept that you have finite energy and resources, and you choose to allocate them wisely. This allows you to invest more deeply in the things and people that truly matter. By not spreading yourself too thin, you maintain the focus and energy needed to pursue your passions and live a more balanced, fulfilling life. Boundaries provide the freedom to express your authentic self. They give you the confidence to be honest about your needs, your desires, and your limitations. When you feel secure in your boundaries, you don't have to pretend to be someone you're not in order to please others. You don't have to overextend yourself in the hopes of gaining approval or avoiding conflict. Instead, you can be true to yourself, knowing that you've set the necessary limits to protect your emotional and mental space. This authenticity fosters deeper connections with those who understand and respect your boundaries, and it frees you from the pressure of constantly having to please or accommodate everyone around you. In a world that often demands more than we can give, boundaries are a way of reclaiming your power. They are a reminder that you are in charge of your life, your energy, and your well-being. When you set boundaries, you are making a conscious choice to protect your peace and to live on your own terms. Growth is often misunderstood as something that needs to be constantly visible, something that needs to be shared, celebrated, and validated by others. But real growth, the kind that transforms you from the inside out, often happens in the quietest moments when no one is watching. It happens in the spaces between the milestones and the accolades, in the solitude where you wrestle with your own doubts, fears, and questions. There is a deep, mysterious beauty in this kind of personal evolution, one that doesn't require an audience or external recognition to be meaningful. Growth is inherently personal. It doesn't follow a linear path, and it doesn't always align with the timelines or expectations of others. When you grow in silence, away from the public eye, you allow yourself the freedom to evolve at your own pace, without the pressure to meet anyone's standards but your own. This kind of growth isn't about proving anything to the world, it's about discovering who you are, what you believe, and what you're capable of. It's about embracing the process, even when it's messy, confusing, and uncomfortable. There's a certain mystery in the way growth unfolds. Sometimes the changes are so subtle that even you don't notice them at first. It's only in looking back that you realize how far you've come. These moments of quiet transformation are often the most profound because they happen organically, without forcing or rushing the process. They're not driven by external validation, but by a deep internal desire to become better, wiser, stronger. This kind of growth is patient. It respects the seasons of your life and understands that true transformation can't always be rushed or displayed for others to see. When you allow yourself to grow in private, you protect the sanctity of the process. You give yourself space to fail, to stumble, to try again, without the fear of judgment or criticism. This is where some of the most important lessons are learned when no one else is there to witness your struggles or your victories. It's in these quiet moments that you learn resilience, patience, and self-compassion. You start to understand that growth isn't about perfection, it's about progress. And sometimes that progress is invisible to everyone but you. The mystery of growth also lies in the fact that it doesn't always look the way you expect it to. Sometimes the most significant growth happens in the areas of your life that you weren't even focused on. It can be triggered by experiences that seem insignificant at the time, only to reveal their importance later on. Growth has a way of surprising you, showing up in unexpected ways and leading you down paths you never imagined. It's unpredictable, and that's part of what makes it so powerful. You can't always plan it, control it, or fully understand it, but you can trust that it's happening, even in the moments of stillness. There's also something to be said about the strength that comes from keeping certain aspects of your growth private. Not everything needs to be shared or explained. When you hold some of your experiences close, you preserve the integrity of your journey. You maintain control over your story and your narrative. This doesn't mean you're hiding, it means you're protecting what's sacred. Some parts of your evolution are meant just for you, and that's where their true power lies. Growth in its most authentic form isn't about showing the world how much you've changed, it's about knowing deep within yourself that you have. Finally, personal growth is mysterious because it's ongoing. There is no finish line, no ultimate destination where you can declare that you've fully arrived. It's a lifelong process, one that ebbs and flows, and it's often in the quieter seasons of life when everything seems to stand still that the most meaningful shifts take place. In a world that often glorifies oversharing, it's easy to equate exposure with authenticity. We're bombarded with messages that encourage us to be more open, more transparent, and more visible. But true authenticity is not about revealing every detail of your life. It's about being deeply connected to who you are, even in the moments when you choose not to share. Authenticity comes from within, while exposure is often driven by the external world, by the desire for validation, attention, or approval. And in that distinction lies a crucial truth. Being authentic doesn't mean exposing everything. Authenticity is about living in alignment with your core values, beliefs, and emotions. It's about being honest with yourself first and foremost, and then deciding how much of that honesty you want to share with the world. Just because you choose not to reveal certain aspects of your life doesn't mean you're being dishonest or inauthentic. In fact, withholding some things can be a powerful expression of self-respect and self-awareness. It's understanding that not everything needs to be public knowledge for you to live a genuine life. Exposure, on the other hand, can sometimes be a reaction to external pressures. The more we expose ourselves, the more feedback we get from others. And in that feedback loop, we can easily lose sight of our own truth. We start to shape our actions and decisions based on what will get the most approval, the most likes, or the most attention, rather than what is true to who we are. Exposure can make us vulnerable to the opinions and judgments of others, and in doing so, it can dilute our authenticity. The more we focus on being seen, the easier it becomes to drift away from what truly matters to us. Authenticity is quiet confidence. It doesn't need an audience to thrive. When you're truly authentic, you're not performing for others, you're living in a way that feels true to yourself, whether or not anyone else is watching. This kind of authenticity isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's about making choices that are aligned with your values, even if they go unnoticed. It's about embracing your flaws and imperfections without feeling the need to justify them to others. It's about being honest about what you want, what you need, and what you believe without seeking constant validation from the outside world. Exposure, by contrast, can create a sense of obligation to maintain a certain image or narrative. The more you share, the more people think they know you, and the more you might feel pressured to live up to the version of yourself that others have constructed. This can become a burden, as you find yourself constantly navigating between your true self and the persona that you've presented to the world. Authenticity, however, doesn't demand this kind of upkeep. It allows you to be fluid, to change, to evolve without the pressure of being scrutinized by the expectations of others. There is also a deep freedom in choosing what to keep private. When you're selective about what you share, you maintain control over your story. You decide what parts of your life are sacred and what parts can be made public. This discernment is an act of self-protection. It's recognizing that not everyone deserves access to your vulnerabilities, your dreams, or your struggles. Keeping certain aspects of your life private doesn't make you less real, it makes you more intentional. You're not hiding, you're simply preserving the integrity of your personal journey. Authenticity over exposure means trusting that your value doesn't come from how much of your life you put on display. It's about recognizing that your worth is not measured by how transparent you are with the world, but by how aligned you are with yourself. When you live authentically, you are grounded in your truth, regardless of how much or how little you choose to reveal. You understand that authenticity isn't a performance, it's a state of being. It's not about proving to others that you're real. It's about knowing within yourself that you are. Moreover, choosing authenticity over exposure allows you to protect your emotional energy. Constantly sharing your thoughts, experiences, and emotions can be exhausting, especially when it invites judgment or criticism. When you prioritize authenticity, you focus on what truly matters to you, rather than spreading yourself thin trying to maintain an image. You reserve your energy for the things that genuinely resonate with your spirit, rather than wasting it on superficial validation. This creates a deeper sense of peace and fulfillment, as you're no longer chasing approval, but instead living from a place of inner truth. Ultimately, authenticity over exposure is about living with integrity. It's about being honest with yourself first, and then deciding what, if anything, you want to share with others. It's about rejecting the notion that you have to be constantly visible to be real, and instead embracing the power of selective vulnerability. You don't need to expose everything to be authentic. True authenticity comes from within, and it's not something that requires the approval or recognition of others. Privacy is a sanctuary. In a world where everything is so easily shared, privacy has become a rare and precious thing. It is the space where you can reflect, where you can process your thoughts, emotions, and experiences without external influence. When you allow yourself that room to be still and to be with your own thoughts, you start to understand yourself better. You become more attuned to what really matters to you and not what the world says should matter. Protecting your privacy is also a way of safeguarding your energy. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world, because not everyone can handle it or appreciate it in the way that you do. When you guard certain parts of yourself, you are setting boundaries not out of fear, but out of respect for your own journey and for the value of your own experiences. These boundaries enable you to manage your emotional resources, ensuring you're not giving away too much of yourself to people or situations that don't deserve it. Privacy also helps maintain a sense of mystery and control over your narrative. When others know too much, they begin to form their own opinions and judgments about your life. They create their own stories about who you are, often without truly understanding the depth of your experiences. By keeping certain things to yourself, you remain in control of your story. You get to decide what others know and what remains sacred to you. In moments of privacy, you can recharge. Constant exposure can be draining. The constant need to explain yourself or prove your worth to others can be exhausting, but when you hold certain things back, you're giving yourself the gift of rest and reflection. You don't owe anyone access to your every thought, your every decision, your every step. When you embrace privacy, you give yourself permission to be imperfect and to grow without the pressure of outside eyes constantly watching. Lastly, privacy is where true personal power is cultivated. It's where your ideas and dreams take shape without the interference of external expectations. Your privacy becomes a fertile ground for your creativity and your vision. In today's world, the pull of external validation is stronger than ever. We live in an age where approval seems to be measured in likes, followers, and comments. It's tempting to believe that the more people recognize and acknowledge you, the more valuable you become. But that kind of validation is fleeting. It's based on what others think of you in a moment, and it can shift just as quickly as the trends on social media. External validation is seductive because it feels good in the short term. It gives you a sense of acceptance, a feeling that you're seen and understood. But the truth is that kind of validation is shallow, and it can never fill the void that comes from not truly knowing yourself. Self-awareness, on the other hand, is about understanding who you are at your core, your values, your strengths, your flaws, and your dreams. It's the deep, quiet confidence that comes from knowing that your worth isn't tied to what others think of you. Self-awareness is cultivated in moments of reflection. In times when you're not seeking the approval of others but are focused on understanding your own journey. It requires you to be honest with yourself, even when it's uncomfortable, and to recognize that your value is intrinsic, not something that needs to be affirmed by others. The more you rely on external validation, the further you can drift from that self-awareness. You start to shape your identity around what you think people want to see, rather than who you truly are. You begin to seek approval for decisions that should be rooted in your own beliefs and desires. External validation can make you a performer in your own life, constantly trying to live up to someone else's expectations. It's exhausting, and ultimately it leaves you feeling disconnected from yourself. Self-awareness is liberating because it frees you from the need for constant approval. When you know yourself, you don't need the world to tell you that you're enough. You already believe it. You're able to make decisions based on what feels right for you, not on what will win you the most praise. Self-awareness allows you to navigate life with a sense of purpose that comes from within rather than from the shifting opinions of others. It gives you the clarity to recognize when you're being influenced by external pressures and to return to your own truth. Relying on external validation often means that you're giving away your power to others. You're allowing them to define your worth, your success, and your happiness. But when you cultivate self-awareness, you take that power back. You're no longer dependent on what others think or say about you because you know who you are, and that knowledge is unshakable. It grounds you in a way that no amount of external praise ever could.